What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and today, the Superman spoiler-filled discussion that we are going to have because the movie has finally came out. It feels like we've been waiting for this all our lives. And without a doubt, cannot wait to dive in and talk about this. So first things first, make sure you go ahead, like, subscribe, share, follow Hops Geek News anywhere you get your podcast or social media. Go ahead, leave a review, all that good stuff on YouTube. If you're watching there, please go ahead, subscribe, hit notifications, never miss an episode. We haven't done a live in a while, but we got to change that. And then if you would like to support the show, patreon.com/HopsGeekNews. We like to go into what we're reading or watching. We talk about some news typically, and then we go into the Superman talk. However, this week, we do have a little bit of news. Never mind. I was going to say we didn't get much news, but don't worry. We feature a beer of the week, which this week is Calusa Brewing's Happy Colors from there in Florida. Lauren's one of her favorite breweries aside from Sideward. She always loves this. And I took it from her, I guess, on accident when we were in Asheville last week together, which was a pretty fun time. But I chose it just because the happy colors, man. It's got red, green, blue, all that good stuff on the can. Can't wait to talk about this. Lauren, what more say you about this delicious beer?
I'm drinking it too. Obviously we like to tie it to what we're talking about. So one, you could tie it. Actually, Matt, you mentioned this right before we started recording. The first time Superman was on TV, he was in black and white. And now he is in very much so happy colors, especially in this movie. It was very colorful, very beautiful. However, Calusa Brewing is based on the Calusa Native Americans, which were the obvious original Americans, which is further proof that we are all immigrants in this land, except for Native Americans. And so here today, we are celebrating one of the most infamous immigrants to America ever, as he grew up in Smallville, Kansas, but he was born on the planet of Krypton.
You know, it's rather hilarious that these people... I feel like that we're being tested. I feel like they're being tested just to see how much they will really actually follow along with in their simple brains. You know, if, Superman's gone woke. Oh man, he's gone woke. Yeah, they're talking about immigration and brother, sister.
Woke was a thing.
First and foremost, Superman debuted Action Comics 1938 and he was fighting fascism then. And there's this thing on TikTok where I was actually talking about this. And somebody was like, leave politics out of comics. I just want to come to comics and get away from politics. And so then I proceeded to be like, well, let's go on a little teaching because you have the X-Men. Doesn't get more political in comic books than that. Captain America debuted fighting Hitler. Fun fact, in case you...
Well, a lot of these characters were created as an escape from World War II, in which, fighting Nazis.
The 70s and 80s were a massive political revolution.
Civil rights, and that's when X-Men came out, yeah.
You know, if you sit there and like, I go to comic books to get away from politics, buddy, I don't think you're really reading comic books, and neither are any of these people that pretend to go on there. So
they're just reading Death Star that has no actual lines.
But even then, I'm sure there's. But anyways.
No, it's nothing against Jeff the Shark. He's adorable and hilarious.
Shark, yes. Yeah. People they are ridiculous. We're gonna dive into Superman soon, but let's talk about what we've been reading or watching first. I have a laundry list, so Lauren, why don't you go ahead and talk about what you first have been reading?
So last week I reviewed Sisterhood, which is a Hyde Street story that was actually.
Good.
Yeah, you did the video review on that one. And that was fantastic. So this is starting a run. It's not a standalone. And if you've been following any of the Ghost Machine comics from Hyde Street, then you will not be surprised at how phenomenal this story is. It's two young girls who went through some trauma when they were young. They're in college and they're going through some more trauma, and you never know when you're going to step onto Hyde Street and where some spooky stuff is going to happen. And that's exactly what's going on. Very spooky, very gorgeous art.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you love any sort of comic book, there's something in Ghost Machine for you. Whether you want to read military comics, family comics, happy-go-lucky comics to escape the real world, or dark, creepy ass stuff. Like there is literally something for everybody in Ghost Machine.
There is.
My other comic I did was Laura Kinney Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
I've been talking about this for a while. Last issue, she had broken from in true Wolverine fashion, from some mind control stuff. But the mind control stuff is over, but still lingering with her. And so this issue, not too much happened, but it connected a lot of dots and it came full circle. So it really like connected like the first issue and some other issues, as well as a past run of Laura Kinney that I read that I didn't love that run, but I like that they're still recognizing it in this, because I feel like when you do that, you're fixing that run to make it better. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But no, Laura Kinney's been great. And if anybody out there is like really likes Wolverine comics, but they're sleeping on this because, oh, she's younger, oh, she's a girl, whatever means, like She is 100% her father's daughter. She's just a less emotionally constipated. And she plays better with others, which gives us some phenomenal team ups. And Wolverine does have phenomenal team ups, but he's always reluctant to do them, which she is a little, but not as much. And like Luke Cage showed up in this, and it was like, you know, he's still mayor, and that worked to her benefit that she knows the mayor. And so, you know, she'll do anything for mutants. So I'm standing on this. Like, if you like Wolverine comics, give this a chance, because Laura Kinney, a lot of these younger mutants are the future, but she's so good. And the art is so phenomenal because they don't over sexualize her. I think because it's drawn by a woman. She's still awesome and sexy and badass, but the sexy is not there for sex appeal. The sexy is there to showcase how badass she is.
Yeah, I really like that because, you know, obviously there is sometimes when you get women in comic books, you know, being drawn, they are always barely wearing any clothes, or they're very busty, or like, yeah, you said their ass is hanging out, or, you know, drawn a certain way. Right. And so you don't have to do that if you're making a really good character, which actually kind of leads into one of the comics I did read this week, because she's a very badass character. It's Supergirl. Number 3 is out from Sophie Campbell, and that's the DC All In series. And now this one is a very much not as serious as the other ones. However, there is a lot to take away from it, and I think it's very relevant. It's more or less like not for me. I think this is more geared to a younger crowd or different crowd, right? Because Supergirl, there's friendship, has a big theme, friendship between Lena and the bad guy in this, and then there's just a lot of that themes of feeling that loneliness, going back to your hometown and finding yourself, and a lot of that is throughout this comic book, and it's done very well. Sophie Campbell does everything, so it's super good. I highly recommend people check that out. But she is a strong, badass character, and she's taking care of business, and they're working together, and it kind of is setting up in the next big arc, big villain. And the bad guy doesn't understand why everybody's still cheering for Supergirl in this, which I thought was pretty interesting as well. But so you're right. I really enjoy when they're kind of written that way. But I did read some more comics. Aquaman issue 7. This is the penultimate issue, if you will, by Jeremy Adams, Rex Locust, Dave Sharp, Michael Scheffler, before he faces off against Dagon. And it's still phenomenal. Very well drawn. This is just colorful. There's so much color in this. It just throws itself off the page. But this sets you up. Like, Arthur is this badass. However, there was a big twist in this issue that I did not see coming. And so you go from, you're ready, you're in fight mode. Arthur, beat his ass. And then you go to, oh man, like it turns on a dime, and there's a really heartbreaking scene that really pulls at the heartstrings. And I don't want to give it away for anybody who hasn't read it yet, but it was it took me off guard, because like I said, you go from one extreme to the next, and then you get mad again by the end of it. So really,
he should have, Jeremy Adams should have written more Supernatural episodes. Like, he was just so good. And yeah, just hearing that, like, with the twists and then the heartstrings, it's Supernatural ever comes back, we need to get a petition going that Jeremy Adams gets to write more episodes.
He should, honestly, because he's so good at storytelling, and it's evident, you know, you still got the adventure aspect of what this overall run is so far, this art. But again, the way he's weaving between emotions and gets you fired up just to bring you down, and then it gets you fired up in a different way. Oh, and then just what Rex and Michael are doing with the artwork, it's so good. So
Any
good.
Comics with oceans seem to kill the artwork. It just
they like really
you can't
do
not have it be beautiful. Like, even when we did Frank
color.
Martin, when he did the polar one that was underwater, that was phenomenal. Like, Namor comics are always so gorgeous. Like,
I wonder if it's because they feel like they can showcase more in the water, because there is a lot of different colors and things. I don't know. I'm very curious to see why that is, you know, because it could also be hard to draw fluidity in the water and like their motions and their movements. And this is,
so they use the coral and everything and sea and most to go with it. I think it's like we've never explored the whole ocean, so they have that mystery aspect. And I think they sometimes play into that. And anyone who's ever snorkeled, I mean, it's gorgeous. It's like,
it is.
Oh, I love snorkeling.
The ocean's beautiful, man. Stop killing the oceans, you know?
Seriously. Check your sunscreen. If it's got those nasty chemicals, throw it in the garbage. Don't even use it at the pool.
Yeah, sunscreen's killing a lot of the coral reefs.
All drains lead to the ocean.
They do. And, you know, fertilizers are also what's causing a lot of the red tide and stuff, man. You know, so that's anyways. I also read Batman. We turned this into a
episode.
I know. Preaching. Batman Gotham by Gaslight A League for Justice issue 1. Now, this is a continuation of the Gotham by Gaslight series. However, this is a Western. It's by Andy Diggle, Leandro Fernandez, Matt Hollingsworth, Simon Boland. Yes, we are in the Western era. We get to see a very creepy Martian Manhunter, a very badass Wonder Woman. And then we have a
cowboy hat on.
Well, Green Lantern shows up in his cowboy boots, but Superman is in a domino mask. He's got cowboy boots on. He is out there rough and tough, brother. But it's really fun. It is super good. It's a Western style Justice League story is super fun. And that's what this one is. It's you got some bad guys. Yeah, this particular kicked off. The Batman Gotham by Gaslight was about Batman, and they were finding the mystery of the Kryptonian, basically, which led into this. Now, this is the old Western town of Smallville that Clark's protecting. He's the sheriff, but then obviously he becomes Superman, and you have Lex Luthor who sends Harley Quinn and his Suicide Squad out there after, to rob the town essentially. And that's when Superman gets in, and then stuff goes from there. But it's really funny. A lot of the dialogue is really fun. I love a good Western, and this is a good Western as far as superheroes go. I really enjoyed this issue. And aside from that, Superman Treasury issue 25. We haven't had a Treasury in DC Comics for about 10 years now. So Dan Jurgens, Cade Philippi, Brett Breeding, Dave Sharp, Bruno Redondo. It's 80 pages of Superman, and it's a very cool story showcasing. It's massive. It's like large, so it's supposed to be big. It's a bigger issue. There's a lot of really cool scenes of just Superman flying high, like these really cool action shots of Superman, and they're essentially battling Maxima and Bizarro, or not Bizarro. It's Cyborg Superman. And so she's mad because Superman had a baby with a human, and she wanted Superman's babies. And so she's come to Earth, and there's a really beautiful shot of the whole Justice League crew together. And it's just fun. It's just a beautiful comic book, an homage to Superman, a really good story. And the last comic that I read this week was Fantastic Four issue 1 by Ryan North, Humberto Ramos. Oh, you read it? Yes. Victor Olazabal, Travis Lanham. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this, since I've been rambling?
So this one, I actually screenshotted apart from the back of the comic, because this issue of Fantastic Four, it's also issue number 34 of the story that they started in 2022. And it is part of the issue. It says with our previous issue number 1 and issue number 727 of the story that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee actually started back in 1960. So that's
I'm glad you caught that, because I put that in my review, that there was this end of the comic. It wasn't actually issue 1. It's a continuation. I thought that was wicked cool.
Well, especially because when it first started, they put that at the end of the comic, so you don't realize that. But when it started, there's all this under Doom going on. And if you've read, not any Marvel comic in the last 6 months, but a lot of them are under Doom, whether it's X Factor,
we're doing this
there's
one
all
world
sorts
under
of
Doom.
things. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'm just thinking we're playing on that. And then Doom basically sends all 4 Fantastic Four members to different timelines, but they have protocol for what they're going to do if that happens.
Yeah, the Forever Stone.
But when they get to one of the characters, she can't. I ruined it because I said she. Fucking pronouns.
Oh, damn it. Yes, she's too far in the future that the Earth is now roasted and gone, and the oceans are gone.
Find it. Not there. Yes. So I'm like, wow, what is she going to do next? And I'm thinking it's going to be solved in this issue. And of course it's not. But how they all go for the Forever Stone and where they all get sent was really kind of cool. The artwork was beautiful. It was fun to get to see them all in these very different time zones.
Johnny Blaze with his handlebar stash.
Well, in Johnny Blaze too, I feel like he's so known for being a goofball in pop culture sense that we never give him credit for being intelligent. And honestly, he hangs around with one of the smartest guys ever. So clearly he's picking up stuff. And what he figured out and did was very, very clever.
Yeah. So, that sequence, I don't want to really spoil it, because it's really that was the most suspenseful to me, because you're reading it, he's going to be fine. But while it's happening, I felt my walls kind of closing in a little bit.
I was going to say, he's going to be fine, but about a year ago, we did all watch Johnny Storm violently get ripped to pieces with his skin pulled off. So you never know.
Very
if Johnny
true.
Storm will actually be okay.
You're right. I was like, wait a second. In my head initially, because I'm thinking,
I watched
the next Fantastic Four. I was thinking Stranger Things. I was like, Lauren, that's about 7 years ago at this point, because we haven't had a Stranger. Because I was thinking, but then I realized, Chris Evans came back.
Wolverine and Deadpool, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to our Patreon Gibson, because we were watching the movie this weekend, and Gibson off rip out of memory quoted that entire sequence of
The
and it
cinnamon
was a
ring, the whole
yes,
thing. Oh
because
my
at first
gosh.
I was so confused what was happening, and he off rip did it, and it was amazing. Dude, it was hilarious.
I'm upset I missed that now.
Yeah, it was so good. But this
The
comic
whole
was
thing,
good.
like,
Yeah, he off
separate
rip
her
like
charred
dropped it
husk
out
of
there.
a
Yeah, oh yeah. And you can quote
amazing.
me. It was good. And now moving on, I did watch 2 movies this week aside from Superman, right? I did watch Warfare, which is an A24 film. It was based on a true story written by a guy, their actual thing, who were in combat, right? It's something always funny about American war movies because we go into these countries and then we make a movie about them. But this movie is done. It's a very stacked cast, a couple Marvel. So the new Johnny Storm is in it. Adam Warlock is in it, for example. Michael Gandolfini's in it, and it's got a stacked cast. The sound design is really, really well done. And there was a couple, like, I got caught off guard. And then, my first deployment was carrying flag draped caskets and sending them back home to the States. So while I was never out there actually doing what these guys are doing, it still did invoke some memories of things that I have done. And it played into that, which I thought was really interesting. It's a really well done movie, well acted. It's not very long, hour and a half, get in, get out. So I thought that was a good movie. And then Clown in a Cornfield. So this is a indie kind of film. And so it's about a doctor and his daughter. They move to this very small town, and it's a very small town. And they have an annual celebration, essentially, where they celebrate clowns and this other stuff. And it's about clowns killing the kids. The clowns are killing the kids, that kind of thing. I can't talk really more without giving away the twists and stuff in the movie, but it was a fun hour and a half long slasher
flick. A fun movie with clowns killing children?
Yes. It was an hour and a half long. Yes. Honestly, I could see it wasn't vulgar and it wasn't anything. So I could see Brielle probably enjoying this movie just because it wasn't scary. It was just your run of the mill, funny slasher type film. And it was very self-aware, and it had some cool sequences in it. And the twist was pretty cool as well. And the way it ended was funny as hell. And I liked this movie. I did. It had a very short theatrical run. It was really good. I enjoyed it. So I watched those 2 movies. I have a couple others I want to watch. And then, of course, Superman that we're going to get to here soon. So what did you watch?
The only thing I've actually watched in the last week, other than Captain America, because it was 4th of July and Independence Day.
And we watched Ironheart.
Oh, yes, and Ironheart. But that episode should have already dropped, where we've given all our feelings and thoughts and all that fun stuff. So Time Cut. So speaking of Brielle, anybody who's new to us, Brielle is my almost 13-year-old who loves horror. And so she recommended this movie on Netflix. I have to say it wasn't the best. It is a time-traveling horror movie, but it didn't really feel very horror. So if you like Totally Killer, which was fantastic, where the girl goes back to
this movie was made before Totally Killer, which is hilarious. I was explaining this to Brielle.
Oh, that's where Brielle got the info from then.
Yeah.
She was telling us that.
Oh, yeah. See, I passed some knowledge on. She listens to me.
I didn't know you guys had
we were talking about this. You've been replaced.
It wasn't that good, though. So
it wasn't. No, Totally Killer is way better.
Yes. So this girl, it's her sister died. And basically she exists because when her sister was murdered, parents then did IVF and everything to have this girl. And she feels like she's always lived in the shadow of her sister who was murdered, which seems that's understandable. So she accidentally time travels back to 2003. And here's one of my big issues. I turned 20 in the year.
God, that was tough seeing 2003 because I was having flashbacks.
Outside of the music, though, the fashion choices were not accurate. There was a couple things.
No, I would definitely agree.
Brielle kept asking me, she's like, "Did you guys actually wear that?" I'm like, "No one wore that." And then I did like that they had
baggy
the store
jeans
called
and hoodies.
Well, you were a boy, sure, but it was all low-rise jeans. We did wear belts over shirts. I don't know why we did that. The Uggs, I feel like, are still around. Oh, I did say something to Brielle. I'm like, you literally stole that tank top out of my closet like 6 months ago.
Yeah, there was one of them. Like the big thing was my ex-girlfriend actually would always wear like a Hollister, Abercrombie half zip up, and she'd have a cami underneath. And then she wore the Uggs with the pant. Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, I still have that. Well, it's not in my closet anymore. Brielle has stolen it, but I still have like those clothes from 2003 that she has since stolen. But some of it was like excessive. Like, no, nobody wore rainbow things or whatever, and we were still
No?
getting dress coded in 2003, but I guess in the movies they never were.
Oh, I wasn't dress coded. Interesting.
Anyways, I spent many a day in internal suspension for my attire.
Oh,
So
interesting. Huh.
this movie, one of the times was for flip-flops. Like, come on, man.
In Florida? South Florida?
We weren't allowed to have strapless shoes. And I had dropped a rifle on my foot the day before. My foot was all swollen. So I wore like slip-ons with very like
See, that's
flared
crazy
jeans
to me.
to cover the back.
It was the Wild West in Massachusetts. They didn't care. We could wear
They also
hats
back then
all.
they didn't sell shorts for girls that weren't like really short or made you look like a grandma, and we had to have fingertip length shorts. So I got sent to eternal suspension for shorts one time.
Harper has to do that in Virginia, actually.
That's ridiculous. She's 6.
She's tall. The problem is we can't find shorts and stuff long enough because she's so effing tall.
Well, she's
but yeah, they do have
my 8-year-old. Yeah,
they do have that here actually, which is funny.
Anyways, this movie is a very good, light-hearted horror movie. If your kid wants to watch horror and you're concerned about showing them something that's too graphic or too whatever, this is a good introduction to horror, I feel like.
Put on Clown in a Cornfield.
I don't know. I haven't seen that one.
No, it was definitely not as good as Totally Killer. So let's go into some news. Now, Kevin Smith is coming back to comic books with a Daredevil Green Arrow crossover. It's part of the big Batman Deadpool crossover that we're getting at the end of the year.
And he's written for both. So are these going to be the ones he wrote? I wonder.
No, I think he's writing a fresh little story. It's going to be fresh. Yeah, and I'm excited. So yeah, there's another big news. Well, this is actually 2 big things. Why don't you start us off here? Because I have a follow-up to this one.
So Vought Rising is going to start filming next month, according to Jensen Ackles. In this show, so this is The Boys. It's a prequel for The Boys. And they will be doing the origin of Soldier Boy as well as Storefront. I just added that autocorrect.
Storefront? What?
But I'm glad that, Stormfront is a Nazi group. So I'm glad that my iPad was like, probably didn't mean Stormfront. We're going to change that to Storefront. And it's going to be a 1950s murder mystery. So obviously anything that's The Boys and Jensen Ackles, I'm all for.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now that means I would like to let you know that the final season of The Boys has wrapped up filming. I saw some of the, Eric Kripke, for example, posted something on social media being like, it's really weird. This is the final day on set. This is all going to get torn down, blah, blah, blah. This is a place that we've, spent a lot of time and things. So the final season's done. It's coming. It's a coming. And with that, we're right on the doorstep of San Diego Comic-Con, a sensitive subject here for me. However, there's a lot of news that is being withheld. So in the next couple of weeks, end of July, expect a lot of news. I'm hoping a lot of good DC news. Marvel's not going to be there, but DC will be at Hall H. And then I expect we might get some trailers of some good stuff. And then who knows what other, Universal might be doing something and things like that. So who knows? A lot of stuff coming down there.
Marvel news in New York with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah. Really you're holding on to that one, huh?
I am. And it is. At first I was like delusional, but you know what? Deadpool and Wolverine happened. And it makes sense. Why else are you going to put all of them together?
Is possible.
Yeah, you got Melinda May. You got Daisy, you got Agent Coulson, all going to New York Comic Con together. Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
That's true. That's true.
I wish if I was going to be there, I would 100% go to whatever panel they were going to show up at.
Now, let's go on and take a quick commercial break and come right back where we're going to spoil the shit out of Superman, man. BRB. We're back. We're flying high. Up here, look in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Nope. It's spoiler-filled Superman action. So if you have not seen the film yet, you can listen if you want. And, we're going to go into it. So Lauren,
I would leave and come back.
By the way, I got my crypto popcorn. This is what $40 gets you.
Oh, shit.
Into Cinemark. It came with a giant tub. Like, this is a big tub of popcorn. And so I didn't really much of the popcorn, but they didn't put the popcorn here, which I actually like. And I can use it maybe, as a pen holder at work if I really wanted to. It's got this thing, but crypto, I love this because crypto is one of my favorite parts of the film. And so it's adorable. It doesn't make noise or anything, but it's freaking sick. And I'm not going to spend $80 on Galactus. So at least I got something from the summer blockbusters. Now, that said, what are your initial thoughts before the film?
Before the film?
Or of the
how
film?
Did I feel going into it? Oh.
What did you... I know that this was like your most anticipated. So why don't you go ahead? How did it live up to the hype for you?
Daredevil was my most anticipated. This movie surpassed my expectations. This was hands down to me the best DC movie I've ever seen. I don't want to compare him to
Wow.
Henry Cavill because they're so different in their portrayals. And Henry Cavill could have the potential to be on my list, and this guy's a little young. So putting that aside, he did a phenomenal job. The story was so good and so solid that you sometimes forgot you were watching a superhero movie, because I feel like a lot of times Superman is so ingrained in like, this is a comic book movie and this is clearly fictional, and like, we're just gonna have these bad guys do this and do that, and like, I feel like characters were flushed, everything made sense. I think the quick catch up at the beginning was fantastic because no one needs to see Uncle Ben die again. Nobody needs to see Krypton explode again. Nobody needs to see Martha Wayne's pearls go everywhere. James Gunn understands that even the person who's never read a comic book in their life now knows Krypton exploded, knows that Jor-El and Lara sent
There's just some
Superman
things that we
first.
all are ingrained in pop culture that we know.
And I appreciate that. I feel like they're respecting the fact that we are knowledgeable enough to just like catch us up real quick and let's get to the story. And I also like
Agreed.
with Henry Cavill, he became Superman so fast. And it's like, people gave him shit because, he killed Zod. He didn't have training. So we're like jumping ahead. So we know that he's done some training. We know that he's, been practicing at the
But he's still relatively new at the same time, I feel like,
Yes. Yeah. And he just got his ass kicked for the first time, which is very humbling. But the Lex was... Yeah. Okay, I already said my initial thoughts. I'm going to stop because I have a lot more opinions. So what were your initial thoughts?
This is my anticipated right here. The trailer made me feel things going into it. We know that I'm a DC guy through and through, but I've never been a Superman guy. I felt things that a superhero movie has not made me feel in some time. And even to the point where Carrie turned to me and she goes, "This is better than anything." And I don't want to make this a Marvel versus DC things. My point being with this sentence is that this is how you know it was good for general audiences. She turns to me and says, "This is better than any Marvel movie I've seen lately," because she's very much, we're in the bubble. Carrie, my wife, is very much like a casual. She's a casual superhero film fan. She doesn't live and breathe this stuff like we do. And she said, and this is big because she doesn't like to go to the movie theaters twice. She goes, "I want to go to the theater and see this again," which is huge. And because that's not who she is. She does not do that. It was special, man. Yeah. I thought it was super special, and it lived up to everything I wanted. And there was a lot. So what I really loved about this for the Amazon preview, it made you feel, special, hey, it's like our own little premiere. Yeah. It gave
nobody left for the end credit scene. I'm used to walking out after the end credit scene and being like one of a handful of people. Like this was, everybody was still in there.
The movie was buzzing too. Like the movie theater, the lobby was buzzing and it was live. There was lines for the popcorn, right?
Slammed.
It was nice because I don't remember, it hasn't felt like that in a movie theater in a while. And I always talk about Dark Knight being the last great movie experience I've had besides maybe Endgame, but like a true midnight release. And you're right. That's what it felt like. And it captured that essence. And yeah, that's fair. And then so going in there, there was no trailers either. You got right to the movie.
Lovely. We watched some weird Cat in the Hat trailer. You didn't get that? We got a Cat in the Hat trailer, and then it was Superman and friends saying like "Welcome, enjoy," and we're like, "What? We don't have to watch 20 minutes of trailers?" And of course, people were coming in late because they assumed they did.
Well, we thought it was. So we went to the brewery. We were with our friends Chris, his wife Hannah, and their son, and we were at the brewery like right around the corner, and I was like, "Hey guys, what if they don't play trailers, because this is a special?" I had the weird
thank God you
inkling. Did. In my mind, I'm like, why don't we go and so we got there at like 6:50 or whatever. The showtime was 7, and I'm glad we did because I walked in. They went to go sit down. The line was long. Carrie surprised me with the crypto. And as we walk in, that's when the words are up on the screen. I was like, "Oh shit, there were no trailers. Thank God." Because we were going to get there 15 minutes after and we would have missed
at 7:05
part of the movie, man. Yeah. It jumped right into it. I like that. And then it jumps into the scene that we've been seeing. He's on the snow, and that's after him getting his ass beat and crypto comes. I like that because, and then that to me set up, we don't know anything that's going to happen in this movie, because that is the scene that we've been seeing with the fortune, like the first 5 minutes or so. There's a couple other scenes that happen, but by and large, we didn't know what was going to happen. We hadn't seen anything in the trailer. That's how movie trailers should also be, because any trailer I've seen hasn't shown anything aside from the big moments, like Lex walking into the
first trailer.
Well, that was pretty much rehash clips of that. And, we knew Guy Gardner and stuff. So let's start with some things that maybe you didn't necessarily like. Was there anything about this film that you wish they did not do?
I honestly can't think of anything that I had an issue with. I really don't.
I will say I was surprised when they actually Lex shot that dude in the head.
Oh my gosh. My jaw dropped. I feel like my jaw was open for a few minutes, but that made it a phenomenal scene though, because like that guy his name was Malik, I believe.
Yes.
He was such a sweet guy, and like, not to sound like Homelander, but like he's the real hero. And like he even said to Superman, "Don't tell him anything. I don't have any family. Like nobody's going to miss me." Like that was a hard scene, and it showed we're so used to Lex being almost comical at times to where he's not that scary. And I feel like that made this specific Lex just brutal.
Well, you're right. Cause we thought, it's PG-13. They're not going to go there. Right. I didn't think
a lot.
They did. That. Shit. And there was like bitch twice or something like that. They leaned into
It's just
PG-13.
funny. The difference between PG and R is like, they're like, well, this word we can say, and they used it as much as they could.
And, but that scene really made my jaw drop too, because I didn't think they were going to go there. And they didn't do an up close, obviously, and like no blood or anything, but they zoomed out and he shot him in the head. And I was just like, damn. Yeah. Wow. Okay. This is what we're doing. And it happens like halfway through the movie.
That was a pivotal moment though, because it made the one guy whose name at first I was like, is this a Martian Manhunter? Like I didn't know who that was. I wasn't familiar with that. So
they asked the baby. No, it's Element.
Well, yeah, I know that now. But like at first, when we first saw him and they were putting him in the cage with him, I didn't know who that was. But I don't think that he would. Like I think he realized like Lex has no regard for human life. So why would he have any regard for alien life? So how is my son ever going to be safe? And I feel like that was the moment where he was like, I'm just going to risk it all because what do I have to lose? He has a son.
So the guy who actually played Metamorpho, otherwise known as Element Man, is Anthony Carrigan plays him in the film. And we know him.
Familiar.
Yes. So he's a bald dude, right? He's white bald dude. He was in Barry. He's the bald, creepy white guy from Barry. Did you watch that show?
I did not.
Dang. He was in Gotham as Victor Zsasz. He was
yes. Oh, what do I know him? Yeah. I think I know him from Gotham.
Yes, he was in Gotham as Victor Zsasz.
I saw him in the previews for the show or for the movie. I saw him in like the red carpet, and I was like, "Oh, that guy looks familiar. I don't know who he is." Oh, wow! Kudos to him, dude, because he plays a creepy mother effer in Gotham.
And and I thought he was great in this movie too.
Yes, he played such a emotional. You just wanted to hug him.
You did. Well, the guy, he was captured for one reason, and that was to turn kryptonite, and and that kind of stuff.
So speaking of voices you may recognize, how hilarious is it that K2SO was Gary. Or Superman Robot number 4?
Yes. What do you mean? I would be nice to have a name, but what 4 isn't a name? Well, not like Gary.
It is an Umbrella Academy.
That was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah, I liked that. And okay, so going into a lot of things that we liked, the quick catch up, we talked about that already, and it didn't start, how it started, but I really enjoyed also how small town his parents felt. They weren't played by big actors. They weren't pretty. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Which I thought was interesting at first because we're so used to these days seeing attractive parents.
Right. They would have cast some big name actresses.
Well, the one guy's from Identity. He's been in a lot of stuff. The dad.
Oh, I haven't seen him in anything. So to me, he's a nobody.
You haven't seen Identity? You should go watch.
He's in
Identity.
Superman, and I'm calling him a nobody, right? So
go watch Identity.
Who am I to talk?
Movie.
I really liked his scenes with Clark. It was very heartfelt because normally you would have thought Martha Kent would have been the more emotional talker to
Jonathan
Clark.
Being dead by now.
That's also true. Yes. And, speaking of which, another thing that they took from is the fact that, first of all, I was not ready to see Bradley Cooper as Jor-El at all. That was not something that
I had to do a double take.
My mind. Yeah. I knew him and I was looking and then I go, Bradley Cooper, what?
Well, makes sense. Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah. And it was cool, I guess. And
I think Yondu was in this too. Wasn't Michael Rooker?
He is. He's another one of the robots. Yeah. Michael Rooker's another one of the robots. Yes. And, in this iteration, of course, it's ripped from another comic where Superman's parents did send him to basically rule Earth. And now it's kind of open for interpretation whether or not Lex actually didn't doctor that. According to Mr. Terrific, he didn't doctor that.
I don't think he
But
did.
I don't
I
think he
loved
did.
that.
There's an iteration in comics that he actually was sent there to do, that. And I thought that was a cool twist, right? Because that was his favorite thing to watch, was his quote unquote real parents from Krypton while he's healing and stuff like that. And how soothing that was. But then at the end of the movie, it was his childhood memories of everything with Jonathan and Martha. And I thought that was freaking awesome.
That was the moment where I definitely lost it, especially when Jonathan had him doing Superman.
Yes.
Anybody who's ever had kids has 100% laid on their back and put their kid on their belly of their kid on their feet, had them put their hands out and yell Superman. And so to see him do that with that kid, I don't know what it was, man, but in that moment, like I lost it in that moment. That was incredibly, incredibly sweet. And it just goes to show, to quote Supernatural, what is it? Family don't end in blood, and it don't start there either.
I mean, but you're right. They were his parents, and I liked how they basically got rid of, Jor-El and them, and now we don't have to worry about the stupid, whatever that we're used to always seeing him go to the Fortress of Solitude and get advice from a robotic AI Jor-El.
Right, and it was always good advice and helping him. So we've never seen that, as far as I know, on the screen. We've never seen Jor-El and Laura be bad guys, and they were bad guys in this. She even tells him, go take multiple wives and everything. But I think the scene with Jonathan in Smallville, when he looks at Clark and he's like, what you wanted that second half of that video to be makes me so proud of you. And that was, that it proved
that's his character.
It made Clark real, because Clark had a moment where he thought, like, am I evil because I came from evil? And, it was so
inherently sweet. Am I evil, right? And he's like, no, man. And that also really ties into at the end of the speech, right? When him and Lex, they're in Lex tower, there's a little machine that flies off, right? Their tower, whatever.
Very clever.
And you're not human, you're an alien. He goes, Lex, that's where you're wrong, dude. I have feelings. I love, I get angry. I put 1 foot forward every day like you do. We're the same, dude. I'm a human. All that makes me human. I thought that was a really good moment, and it spoke to a broader audience, right? If we look at all of what's going on in the world right now, I think that was more of one of those, hey, we're all human, man. Like, I'm no different than you. You may think we are, but at the end of the day, I'm human, just like you're human.
Every day. Yeah.
Right. And I thought that was a really good moment. I liked that speech. There was really a lot to take from that speech, and it was really, really good. And kind of as we start to break down the characters, I want to start with David Corensweat. How do you feel he did as Clark Kent and Superman?
So we only had like one scene with him as Clark Kent, because
I know I kind of wish we had more.
I think we will get more, but I mean, like, we saw him not as Superman, but when he was with Lois, obviously that's not Clark Kent, that's Kal-El, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I did love that they didn't have him wearing his glasses or any of that BS, because sometimes when I see him doing it like in Superman and Lois, but I think he's used to doing it for the kids, I'm like, what are you doing this for? Like,
why are you wearing your glasses with your
Lois
family?
Knows. Right, like, exactly.
Who are you fooling? Maybe it's for people to drop by. I don't know.
So then leave them by the front door.
You can hear if someone's coming to your house, first of all. You're Superman, dude.
Right, exactly.
I don't know what to tell you.
But I did like the one scene that we did get. He was extra clumsy and whatnot. But I thought it was interesting. They didn't question where Clark was when shit was going down. But then at the very end, when they're like, how long do you think that's been going on with Lois and Superman? And Jimmy Olsen's like, I think like 3 months. So he knew immediately when it was. But whether they never made it clear, like, did they know he's Superman? Or
Clark? I don't think they do, because obviously there's that scene where,
but nobody's worried about Clark
was giving
in
him
the world
shit about the article, right? They were, giving him shit about the article, but Clark at the same time is a sports writer too, right? He had that one, actually, well, he did interview himself, which I thought was hilarious in that scene. Well, no, because I thought they were talking about sports writing, but then again,
I think I'm wrong. From SNL was saying, like,
I think you're right.
Sports writing, because we use more adverbs or whatever.
You're right, because Clark talked about interviewing himself, and Lois is like, oh, you think about questions to ask yourself. That sequence was amazing. Thought that was hilarious. Lois was grilling him on that, and he was like, what? Sometimes. And I loved the way that David Corensweat made his voice lower when he was Clark versus higher.
Very deep voice.
Yeah. The way his voice inflections worked in this movie when he was Superman and when he wasn't was awesome. And now a
Voice.
big piece of forgotten comic book lore here, talking about the glasses. Hypno glasses are mentioned. Now,
that was
Tom King.
amazing.
Yes. So I love, because that whole sequence is hilarious too. You know, the hypno glasses, they make him, and then guys, oh, like, so you know he's
really
Clark Kent.
Shouldn't know. Yeah. He's just like, why does Clark tell everyone?
What if I didn't know? And so Tom King is actually the one that reminded James Gunn about this forgotten piece. So Al Schroeder, who was a super fan of, wrote in back in 1978.
We've had him on Nerd Initiative.
Yes, actually. In 1978, he suggested that Superman used hyperhypnosis, which is a power that he had, and it was actually used in Action Comics 32 and 33. So Martin Pascoe and Curtis Swan went and did the Master Mesmerizer of Metropolis in Superman issue number 333, which stands the same month as Superman the film. Now, in this story, Kal-El fights the C-list Batman villain Spellbinder, who wore a terrible costume and used the powers of hypnosis. Throughout the story, Superman realized that his glasses were more than just glasses. He explains it because he had crafted the lenses of his glasses using a Kryptonian form of plexiglass from the rocket that brought him to Earth. It amplified his super hypnosis powers, which was another thing that he had and was like never really mentioned. It was, again, used in a couple issues of Action Comics. Now, a Superboy story had already revealed that Clark made these glasses as a teenager. So with that, DC actually hoped by explaining this that the readers would stop bringing up the glasses once and for all. However, they pretty much never mentioned the hypno glasses ever again. So now we're back to where people were essentially, how is glasses, Clark? And as Guy Gardner points out, they're hypno glasses. It's such a deep freaking cut, man.
But it makes so much more sense too, because come on, even the voice is still, especially in this day and age where we can like pinpoint, like I knew that was Alan Tudyk immediately. As soon as he started talking, I'm like, I know that voice. So it's like, why wouldn't
AI recognition, facial recognition, which, you know, if you don't have your my phone will open with my glasses aren't on.
Oh, really? Mine does both. You can program it to do both. Once you get your LASIK, you'll have to do that. Like I did it with my glasses and without my glasses and with sunglasses.
Well, but still, like you'd be able to tell, especially with how up close and personal people in Metropolis get to Superman, you know, in this movie, they would probably be able to tell.
With all the social media and everything, it's like he made a comment. I think.
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
Was it
super shit or whatever?
I think it was in a comic book I was reading where because you get to see their thoughts in the comics where he says, like, I always try to not show my face in these pictures and I didn't turn away quick enough. But it's like, it's impossible to do that these days. And you even saw that in the movie when he crashed everybody with the phones around him, except Malik, who was getting him up. But that was, I think, the scene with Lex when he like focused on Malik and pulled up his facial recognition and did all that and found out immediately who he was. I was like, I think it's scary that we are like getting to that and how he's like, well, now I'm going to take him even though he didn't do anything wrong and manipulate him to the scene we kicked off with a little bit. But
well, so let's go into Lex. Nicholas Hoult. What did you think about his portrayal? Because honestly, and this might be a hot take, I think he might be the best Lex Luthor I've seen on screen.
Oh, interesting. That's so hard. I think he did a great job.
His motives were there. I thought the flop between anger. I loved when he was knocking the cups down. You know, he knocked that one last little
he knocked it over again.
Pencils up. His hubris, his brain over brawn. I thought he was, smart as far as making the
pocket universe.
Pocket universes. Although Mr. Perfect has a very different thought, which we're going to get to him. And I really liked it. And then the twist where he basically started that war because he wanted the government to let him kill Superman. He did that whole thing, not because he wanted to take land, but because he wanted to kill Superman. And I thought that was so clever because initially you're thinking, oh, another land grab, Lex. But it turned out that wasn't the case.
Which was cute because I feel like that was a nod to the Christopher Reeve movies because that was my first thought because one of them was even named like Lex. So I thought that was adorable. But can we talk about, you realize Batman had the same motivation in Batman vs. Superman and Snyder's Batman vs. Superman. So just gonna.
Are you coming around to Batman versus Superman?
Oh God, no. I'm just saying how silly that is that Batman was a hero and he's trying to do what Lex Luthor's trying to do in this when he's a villain.
Well, Batman didn't go through with it and cause a multidimensional rift throughout the city of Metropolis.
Only because their moms are both named Martha. That's literally the only reason.
Lex had a mom named Martha. He clearly has mom issues, the way he treated his
he
girlfriend. That's why
definitely
she was
has.
off with Jimmy Olsen.
So kudos to, okay, but I did like that too. They followed that with the Gene Hackman ones where like he had this pretty girlfriend that in the end sided with Superman and was smarter than he gave her credit for.
And it was also really dark too, by the way, how he was keeping people in that pocket dimension, whether they were political prisoners or ex-girlfriends. That was dark. And he goes to some dark places,
about
man.
him that nobody else would. Because I mean, could you imagine a higher up political leader paying off somebody he had slept with?
What? That would never happen, right?
No shit. Okay, so
kill political. No,
Michael Rosenbaum was a great Lex. But he was a Lex that got years to flesh out his character. And I got attached to him and got to see a good side of him. So this, we only saw evil Lex. So I will say movie-wise, I think he's my favorite Lex, yes. But I don't want to compare him to Michael Rosenbaum.
I can give you that just because I never grew up with Smallville like you did and watched it all. So I can absolutely...
I binged it 2 years ago.
Well, okay, to be fair, I meant more of like you've watched it all and I haven't. And so you grew with that Lex because you got a lot of time with that Lex. I haven't, and I thought this Lex was very akin to a lot of the comic book iterations of Lex Luthor that we have seen. And so I really liked, I thought even the way he talked, I loved the way he talked. You know, it's little things like that. They're the way that they manipulate their voices and articulate words and things like that was really good. I thought all the Lex goons were funny. And then the way he used, you know, Ultraman. Now, I do want to mention Ultraman because he cloned, very smart. He found a piece of Superman's hair, then used to clone. And then there's some key words here. He's a dumber version.
Skywalker.
So I know that, first of all, yeah, what a dad, or daddy, I should say. He looked.
He did. He looked like he was about to slaughter a room full of younglings.
Well, so he gets sent into a black hole, but he doesn't die. And now everybody's like, it's a black hole. He's never getting out of that. Guys, do you think there's actually an alien Kryptonian flying around New York City right now? No. I really think this is going to come to pay off down the road in a whatever it may be. That's going to be Bizarro. I think that's going to pay off. I think that's Bizarro. He's got sucked into the black hole, and I think he's going to find Bizarro world, you know, and become a Bizarro Superman. I really think so because they talked about how dumb he was. He's very strong. He never really talked. He was a clone of Superman. I think that's Bizarro. That's just my kind of theory, but I liked how that was the bad guy.
Forward to when you meet Bizarro and Superman and Lois.
Ooh, can't wait. Yes. Speaking of Superman and Lois, let's talk about Jimmy Olsen real quick because I liked just real quick. I thought he was excellent. Skylar, gosh,
he deserved more screen time. I will say that. Yeah.
He did deserve more screen time, but what he did with it was awesome. For example, he was so annoyed by Lex's girlfriend. But then Lois is like, dude, how do you do it, man? She's hot. And then it's like he clicked in his brain is hot. And she was so clingy.
But then Lois called her a genius. She's like, your girlfriend's a genius.
Yeah, your hot girlfriend's
really just thought she was an idiot.
Because it turns out that in the pictures was everything behind her. And that was clever as well. And I know I've seen some rhetoric online from people who've seen it. They've used his girlfriend to find Lex. And well, it makes sense. She was taking a lot of pictures nonstop and you thought she was just some arm candy. But it turns out
underestimate, a pretty girl, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I liked him. You're right. Not enough screen time with him. I liked him. And then Perry White, who I cannot remember the actor's name, and looking on IMDb, obviously the movie's not out yet, so we don't have the cast list yet. He's definitely familiar. Oh yeah. I loved that Perry White. He had the cigar. They went up to the Mr. Terrific thing. That was sick. Speaking of Mr. Terrific, all right, Eddie Gathegi, he gets redemption because you'll remember him from the X-Men First Class film where he dies. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Darwin and Beast. Like, kudos again to Nicholas Hoult because I'm so used to him as Beast being a good guy. But yeah.
So Mr. Terrific was probably my favorite non-Superman character. I thought he was awesome. He had that blend of dry humor, but he's also a combat expert with mad genius. I loved how annoyed and bothered he was by everything. And I love that he helped out Lois. I loved his T-spheres and how he was so mad at Crypto for biting down the T-spheres. And then he was a badass when he was fighting off all of the Lex goons out there at the camp. And I loved Mr. Terrific. So I would watch the hell out of a Mr. Terrific film or show, whatever it may be. I love Mr. Terrific What did you think about the Justice Gang and Mr. Terrific? Because Guy Gardner was hilarious, and Nathan Fillion, and then Isabel Mercado, who plays Hawk Girl. I thought she was great too. I'm not
So
Superman.
real quick, Perry White was Wendell Pierce. He was in Thunderbolts as
That's
Congressman
right.
Gary.
Duh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Wendell Pierce is in a lot of stuff. Oh, duh.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Chicago PD, Suits, I think The Wire. I think I saw that on here.
Yeah.
Archer. He's in a bunch of stuff. But if he looked familiar in something recent, yeah, it was Thunderbolts.
That's why. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
So the only Mr. Terrific I was familiar with was Curtis from
Arrowverse,
CW.
yeah.
And I didn't realize how underplayed he was in Arrowverse because they just
Yeah.
showcase his intelligence. And then when he gets out into the field, he kind of just still seems like a newbie. Granted, I
He's a
haven't watched
martial
this
arts
in years.
expert.
Yeah, he was, but I still feel like they kind of made him like a second class superhero in that. Whereas in this, they really showcased how amazing his intelligence is and what all he can do with it and all of that. So I very much so enjoyed that. And I also
Can't build a nice garage door though.
He hasn't had the time.
You built all this and you couldn't get a garage that opens faster.
I whispered to Tabby during that. I'm like, this is like Deadpool with the Zamboni. Like it's just taking forever. I really did enjoy his stuff. And I love that he came back and he was one that reached out to Lois and they instantly, and like the way he protected Lois in that bubble.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a cool scene, especially because I feel like it really, you know, she's obviously used to throwing herself into danger, but she got thrown into
She's very much in the danger in this as well. Like she puts herself out there on a, you know, really, really like Lois Lane would.
Yeah. But just seeing her in that scene, like looking around, like you just see the shock and awe on her face. And I feel like it was a pivotal moment of realizing like, this is what dating Superman is like. But no, I really liked his character and I do like the one in CW. So don't get me wrong. I just feel like they kind of made him not as strong as a character as they should have, or that he had the potential to be in the show.
Right. I do agree. I do agree. I do. It was just amazing. Oh, man.
Hawk Girl, you really didn't see much. I thought
but I thought she was still badass, and she kind of had like that attitude. I like Isabel Mercado a lot. Yeah. She was young, and I love that she was against the Justice Gang, which is sick. You know, that was great. And
then Lois calls out Guy Gardner's hair, which was fantastic. Yes.
I do love that Lois called out Guy Gardner's hair because they do bring point to. He's like, "What'd you say? What did you say?" That was amazing. And 328 women happened to agree or whatever he said. That was great.
What was funny is right before the movie started, when we sat down, like the people next to us were talking about that. They're like, yeah, his hair is comic accurate. And all these people are complaining about it. And I jumped right into the conversation.
Oh, I would have too. Like, that was amazing. Of course it is. That's the best part, man. Yeah. It was so good. And, you know, I do love the Justice Gang. I never thought we would get a Hall of Justice in a movie this soon. So
I love that they were still working on it, like with the crane.
Yes, and so
like
seeing the Hall of Justice,
so realistic.
I got goosebumps. I was so excited to see a Hall of Justice. Do you think they're going to do Justice Society of America or build to a Justice League? Because there were some Easter eggs in here that we'll talk about in a second. Because we did see a Gotham City sign. There was on the highway when they're panning to the evacuations. There was a sign for Gotham City, and so I'm wondering, like, because they're working on a Wonder Woman movie. Mm-hmm. You know, Supergirl is finished filming, and then obviously we got Metamorpho, Superman, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner right now. So I'm wondering if it's going to be a JSA or what the thing is.
I feel like they'll do JSA just because we've seen Justice League with Zack Snyder. We did see JSA in Stargirl.
We did see a JSA in Stargirl, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, and I feel like that show is very underrated.
It really was. I will firmly agree with that.
Even if they pulled some of those characters out, or I mean, dude, bring Luke Wilson back. That would be cool. Well, and Stargirl was so young. You could bring like a grown-up Stargirl to the situation. She could Star Woman.
I mean, yeah, I like the team that they started with. I think it'd be cool to see a JSA or how they evolved. I'm excited to see how they evolve, I think, the most.
Yes. I will say when this movie was like ending, I'm like, I absolutely 100% need more of this Superman. I need more of this world. Like I need
more of everybody.
Because Creature Commandos was just like so
I didn't like Creature Commandos, and I don't know why.
I liked it, but I hated it at the same time.
Which actually, so good point here. This makes me think. So remember the end where Rick Flag is talking with the other guy, and the other guy's, metahumans run the world now, and Rick
Dude, you
Flag
cannot
kind of zoom
cast
in
a
on him.
Hydra agent to play Rick Flag and expect us to trust him at all.
Do you think he's going to be bringing in this universe's Suicide Squad on account that we did get a surprise Peacemaker, and so Peacemaker cameo on the TV, awesome. And then they said this movie ties into Peacemaker season 2.
But I don't think this is the Peacemaker we know.
I think it is because the pocket dimensions.
I was thinking multiversal.
I think the pocket dimensions are how our Peacemaker comes from that world to here, because this is going to be our Peacemaker that we know in season 2.
But we're forgetting this Barry Allen and Aquaman, right? Like it's not Jason Momoa or Ezra.
Oh yeah, no. Jason Momoa is cast as Lobo. Like they announced that. So yeah, no.
So that Peacemaker I think is coming. But see, like Superman at the end of Peacemaker was just a silhouette. So in my head, I thought maybe they did it intentionally, so it was David Corensweat. But if we're recasting everybody else, I feel like maybe it's a different.
They said Peacemaker season 2 is our Peacemaker.
Is this Rick Flag Jr. or Senior?
It's Senior.
Okay, so is it the one from Creature Commandos?
Yeah.
Okay, but I liked him in Creature Commandos, and I didn't like him in this, and I feel like it's because they casted a Hydra agent.
It's the same voice actor in Creature Commandos.
Is it?
They're having continuity. Yeah, they're doing continuity. People that are cast as voice actors
in the cartoon.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Nobody really got explained, but that is so essentially in they cast people certain ways so that way they can cross into the main in cartoons.
Okay, I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm gonna have to wait to see how that goes.
Totally
I would
fair.
assume he would bring in the Suicide Squad, but that actor is he looks.
It's Frank Grillo. I love Frank Grillo. He's Crossbones.
Right, exactly. But he looks exactly the same as he did in Winter Soldier. So like I'm getting the same vibes from him.
That's how he always looks. Okay, I don't know.
But Beast looked like Lex Luthor. Like these other characters,
I don't know,
Darwin
man.
looked like Mr. Terrific. Like Mrs. Maisel looked like Lois Lane.
And she was amazing. We didn't talk enough about her either. She was amazing.
He looked like he was about to whisper "Hail Hydra" into Lex's ear. Like
maybe he is. I don't know.
There you go. That's my one main complaint.
There you go.
Crossbones is Rick Flag.
So then
Jr. I really liked Rick Flag Jr. too. I wish they hadn't killed him.
I wish they hadn't either. I would love to have seen him back. Now, so we get that surprise cameo at the end, Supergirl cameo. How did you? I liked that. It actually gave me hope for her Supergirl film. I liked Millie Aycock, however you say her last name. I'm not very good at pronunciation there.
I don't know, House of the Dragon.
I only knew her in House of Dragon. That was like her first big thing, and now she's Supergirl. I love, dude. We get to see her in the Supergirl outfit, which is awesome. And then her in Crypto. And yes, she goes to planets with red suns because she can drink and she likes to party. I thought that was funny. So he's fostering Crypto.
Different
and we got to see her.
than Melissa Bonet or whatever you say. No, she did a great Supergirl. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's very fun to get a red
party
sun Supergirl.
Man.
Yeah.
Awesome. I thought it was awesome. That made me really excited. I didn't expect her. I had a feeling and I was hoping because obviously her movie is going to be coming out. And so I was hoping they tied her in, and they did. And I'm so pumped for a Supergirl film now. Can't wait. But all in all, this movie is yes. It
when he was saying, "Where's the dog?" I'm like, "Why aren't you saying my dog?"
Yeah, because he was fostering. Well, he even mentioned it was more of a foster situation.
But I was confused. I was like, "What do you mean? This is your dog? Why aren't you saying my dog? Where's my dog?" Saying, "Where's the dog?" Then it made sense.
Dude, I'm going to watch this movie again because there's so much I want to see. Oh, Jitters. They mentioned Jitters, which is the coffee shop from Flash. So there's another Easter egg for you.
Belly Burger.
Yep. They had some Easter eggs. I'm going to have an Easter egg article out.
DC businesses are exactly what they are. Like you're going to get Jitters if you drink too much coffee. You're going to get a big belly if you eat burgers. I
do enjoy that. And then continuity wise, that's like the one thing that's constant throughout these universes is the names of their fast food and coffee shops. Doesn't change.
Sean Gunn is Maxwell Lord. I thought that was
we did, and he's the one that kind of did the Justice Gang as well, which I thought was awesome. So, what would you give this movie then? What is your rating for this film?
Holy shnikes! I'm gonna give this a 9.5 out of 10.
That's okay. That's what I gave it as well. Just I don't know why I felt if I gave it a 10, I'd be a homer, and
nothing's perfect.
I guess. I think my only complaint is this movie ended. It ended, and I could have sat there for another 2 more hours. I guess. It was good. You got
Oh,
my
and then
wife and kids that were involved. Like they were super sold on it. I need to see it again. Yeah, 9.5 out of 10 for me. That's what we got here.
I feel
It's
like
my
we should
favorite
go
movie of the year so
yeah.
far. I will say that it has beat Sinners for my favorite movie of the year so far. Very different films. I want you to see Sinners because I would be very interested. I need you to.
Josh and I are gonna watch it. Yeah, it's on HBO Max. We're gonna watch it this
Yep.
week.
We're going to talk about it. So, with that said, let us know your thoughts on Superman. That concludes it. We're going to transition to Fantastic Four starting next week and get ready for that film because we're going to be rolling to that film too, man. We're blessed as nerds and moviegoers right now for the month of July. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, follow Hops Geek News, any podcasting platform, social media platform. That's where you can find us. Patreon.com/Hops Geek News is where you can support the show. Let us know your thoughts about Superman. And until next time, we'll see you later. Cheers.